so just starting the recording. So this is USD CAD. Now this was actually a shark pattern, and I think it's just taken me out. That doesn't mean to say I won't re-enter. Just move that across. Let's go to the Harmonic Scanner and explain this. Now this is a shark pattern. Can you mute yourself out if I can hear some noise? Thanks very much. It's a 15-minute scan, and I drew it on. You can see it had from C to D is where you measure. So it's a scan of 40 pips. And there is the D point. Now with sharks, what happens is that the D point can redraw. So we always say sharks bite. So you either don't get in until the second entry point down here, or where it's hit TP1. Now I did get in a bit early, so it stopped me out, even though I moved, I'll show you in a minute, I moved my stop loss up to about 12 pips or so instead of my usual 10. Which is what I like to work to. And also we came up to the hour. Now in the last 10 minutes of any hour, normally I don't get in on a trade. Well, not normally, but often I won't get in on a trade. I was in a bit earlier than that because price will usually do a fake out. So it will push the opposite direction to the direction it wants to go. The momentum of this scan is down because your D point is up here, your C point is there. So it's saying that the reversal point in the market has happened up here and it wants to come down. I've put the stochastic on the scanner, so you can see that on the 15-minute it is well above the 80. So it is overbought, and it's still pointing up, as you can see, but it's saying, you know, it will come down. So there's no shame if you've been stopped out and re-entering, as long as you've done your analysis, as long as you're compounding your account and getting your percentage increase, then you are still okay. So that's what you have to keep track of, is where you are on the growth in your account. So if I go to show you what's actually happened on the chart here, I'm sorry it looks a bit like Star Wars, because normally I'll work just off the Harmonic Scanner. In fact, it's still pushing up. It's probably going to go right up to the quarter theory point, which is a orange dotted line, a strong line of support and resistance. And I pay close attention. That's one of my confirmations for getting into a trade, is which side is it of the quarter theory, and price will always move between levels. So I thought it would only come up, this is these two little purple lines, and in fact there's a green one in there as well, which are sort of faded out because they belong to old scans. So I thought I had enough of a buffer, I call them invisible walls, which would protect me, but it's obviously wants to go up to quarter theory before it comes down. So it's come way outside the D point, and what will happen, because it's a shark, excuse me, a shark pattern, although it said sell 80, actually this is on the 1 minute, so let's put it on the 15 minute. So we're just going to see it out a bit better. Just move that across, and let me take off that the Hull MTFA with bands. Shows you, if I just briefly explain that, it's one of my exit criteria. The red line and the green line show how price is changing on the 1 minute, and in the background the bands are 15-minute bands. So you can see that it's still saying it's going upwards on the 15-minute. We're on the 15-minute chart, and I'm going to turn that off so that we can see the scan a bit clearer. So let me get the stochastic switched on for BYOB and just pull that chart, pull that indicator up so you can see that a bit better. So you can see on the 15-minute it is bouncing along the top of the stochastic. So it's saying it's overbought, but as we know, it's a shark. Let me just hide this short position that I put on. So what I will be doing now is looking at the scanner for when it redraws the D points, because that's what now will happen on this. So it's still a valid scan, and it's still a downward scan. I'll just take off that downward trend line. You can see on our indicator it's saying a buy down here, and that was as the scan was coming up to the D point, the final reversal point, and it hasn't, let me put the SAR flip on, and it hasn't flipped on the SARS yet on the 15 minutes, so it wants to redraw. It's redrawing up to quarter theory, 1.3 flat, and then it will probably start its downward descent. So as far as I'm concerned, this is still a trade I'm going to look at once I've redrawn the D point, and I'll be looking for it to do something. This is on the 15 minute. Normally I draw that on the 1 minute. So I'm looking for it to pull my D point up there. I'll pull my pitchfork up there, and then look at for it to come down. So shark's bite, and it did stop me out on this one today, just now. So no trade at the moment on USD CAD until our indicator and our SARS flip. You can see it's leveled off here. It's rejecting off quarter theory there. We're now obviously past the hour, which is the fake out. So sorry, I'll get rid of that brush stroke. Just bear with me a minute. So that's what I would be looking for. Still look at your original TP1s, TP2s, TP3s. Don't know whether it'll go down as far as TP3. We often say that they don't. You can see here on the 15 minutes, it's now saying that it's heavily overbought. So and it's reached the previous high there, which was at 11:45 your time. I'm on UTC +1 on Paris time, and you can see it's just peaking out here. So let's keep an eye on that. We could possibly come back to USD CAD before the end of the session. So we'll just see if we can check in again. What have I got next? I've got CAD JPY to have a look at. Sorry about these orange lines. They're nothing to do with my computer. It's to do with a glitch on TradingView. Anytime it hits a quarter theory point, it seems to create vertical lines. So I'm on let's go to the 15 minute. Have a look. Let me go to the hourly to show you where the scan is. And then we can put BYOB on. So this was, I haven't got a more recent scan on this. Scans will start to come in. The market settles down between about January the 6th and January the 14th. So next week, the next full week, it'll be back to normal speed. Let's put the stochastic on. And I just want to change those. That's okay, I'll leave it at that at the moment. Put it so you can see 100 on your chart for your stochastic, for your indicator. And I'll just take off, that's an old line I had on, just looking at the low in a market, so I'll just hide that, we don't need to see that. So we're working off a scan from November, still very valid as long as your pitchforks, I mean, you don't have to use the pitchforks, it's just the way I trade. I'm quite happy looking at BYOB. I just want to pull that down a little bit so we're not taking up too much of the screen. And we'll just pull that up there and come into the 15 minute. So CAD JPY works at a speed of 5 out of 10 normally. Think of these orange dotted lines, quarter theory, as strong lines of support and resistance, because bankers will always settle up to round numbers. The market works through levels. You can see on CAD JPY, perfect touch there to the pitchfork, came up here, didn't quite hit it there, back down, back through the level. So each level you've got at least 20 pips, which is why I work off pitchforks normally. Here you've got the 62 EMA, which is a 1 minute line of price crossing up above the 15 minutes. So it's saying price wants to go up. This is an upward scan, as you can see from the direction of the scan. So it's what you call the momentum trade. So I'm going to put on BYOB in a minute. So generally this is telling us on the 15 minutes, you can see it's bottomed out here, it's come below 20, but price wants to go up. But we can see the 62 EMA, that's because they're 60, so that's the nearest Fibonacci to 60 candles in a minute. So this is the 1 minute movement on price. Only actually, I usually look at it on the 1 minute chart. And the reason I just want to show you on the 1 minute chart is because although we've said on the 15 minute price wants to go up, the 1 minute is the nearest to real time. So on the 1 minute, everything will happen on the 1 minute before it happens on the 5, 15, etc., etc. So at the moment, at this current moment in time, the 62 has come down below the 15 minute EMA, which is your average moving price over a certain number of days. So you get this 15 minute line, which actually I only ever look at on the 15 minute chart. So I go back to that by doing 60 times 15, which gives you a line of 930, but that's sort of a little bit technical. We don't need to bother about that on our BYOB, which is the good thing about it. But what I want to draw your attention to is the fact that you can see it is rejecting between a pitchfork and quarter theory. So if it's still going to go upwards as a buy, and we'll put on our beautiful Ninjacator in a minute, then it's got to break through quite a strong line of support and resistance. And price is exactly at that point at the moment, 83.5. Here's my quarter theory, 83.5 is a line of support and strong line of support and resistance. So let's now put on our Ninjacator and see if we can get in for the buy yet. So if we put the SAR on, the SAR flip is saying it has, and I need to make sure I've got the Heikin-Ashi candles, because as you know, we need 3 simple confirmations. We need the flat bottom candle, we need the SAR flip, which we've got, and we need the stochastic to be in the extreme. So on the 15 minutes, we'll have a look on the 5, hasn't flipped there. And also you look for something called confluence. Sometimes you want to see if you've got the same trend across the time frame, because that shows you how many pips you can possibly get. So we've got a SAR flip down here. There, you can see the orange dot there. I like the fact it's above by pitchfork. It's at the bottom on the, let's get the 100 showing, on the stochastic. It's at the bottom on the stochastic. There. So it's, let me just, there we are. So, and it's wicking, at the moment it's wicking through that quarter theory line, but it has retested the 15 minute. So I think that's looking quite nice for a buy. But let's put on our powerful, yeah, and that's saying buy. It's saying that it, but remember this is a 5 minute, so this will dictate how many pips you can get, because the smaller the time frame, or the bigger the time frame, the more pips you can get, because the moves are smaller in the small, obviously in the smaller time frames. So what it's saying a buy, and it's saying it's at the bottom here, so that should be good for a few pips. But what I'm seeing is that if I get the brush stroke here, is that it's wicking through quarter theory and it's testing the 62 EMA. So personally, when I'm getting in trades, I wait until, these are just my confirmations, because time and time again I'm seeing obviously that the Ninjacator and John's trades, you know, very, very effective. So you don't have to wait. If you've got your confirmations on your BYOB, you know, by all means get in. You just kind of learn your own trading style over a period of time. I just want to get rid of this brush stroke, and I can never get rid of it unless I put text, put another indicator, put another symbol on, and then it seems to be able to let me get rid of it. So we can just keep an eye on this for a moment on the 5 minute. Let's see what's happening on the 1 minute on CAD JPY. So, and I'll take off this circle. So it's saying that vertical line is saying it's bang on quarter theory because it's glitching on trading view. It is coming up through quarter theory on the 1 minute, as you can see on that little candle there. But of course, on the 1 minute, you wouldn't want to take a trade on BYOB because it's showing you that it's overbought on the stochastic. You know, you'd only be doing a very small move, and obviously you want to get your 10 pips. But you can see the trend is upwards. So if we go to the 5 minute, it's saying buy 20, and you've got it halfway up the stochastic. But it's only half, the candle hasn't closed the other side of quarter theory at the moment. So although the SARS flipped and you have got a flat bottom candle. So for me, and it's retested the 15 minutes. So for me personally, it's just the way I've worked for 2 years. I like to sit above quarter theory, but from Paul's sessions and from John Doherty's trades, you know, I know they continue to go up, and I know how effective an indicator is. So started to take some trades on just using that. Now on the 15 minute, interestingly, you can see that we've got what to call a doji candle. It means it's an indecision candle. You can see it's very small, small volume there with wicks either side. So that's an indecision candle because price is caught between the pitchfork and between quarter theory. So it's got to make its mind up which way it wants to go. And on the 15 minutes, it's saying it hasn't turned. So if I put the pivots on, it's lazy man's high and low. The pivots are showing me that it is starting to move up. Basically, it's click of a button and it shows you higher highs, and whether what you want to see are higher lows, because that will be the trend going upwards. So at the moment, on the 15 minute, we've got a lower low, and what we're looking for is a lower high. Let's see if that's happened on the 5 minute. On the pivots, 474, 470. So the market does look like it's turning. 538, 546. So you're getting a higher high there, and you're getting a level really, but it's showing that it does want to try and turn. So let's look at the 1 hourly. 1 hourly shows us on BYOB that we have a sell at, on the longer term, it's showing a sell at 80 with a flat bottom candle. So it wants to come down, but it wants to turn. So and as I said, you'll see moves happening first on the shorter time frame, ultimately the 1 minute, which is like a very, very fast hurricane compared to, you know, a breeze as you go into the longer time frames. So it's saying on the longer time frame of 1 hour that it wants to turn. It's now above the 62, it's above my pitchfork. It's not quite above quarter theory, and that's another pitchfork, this dotted line, and the SARS are still on top. So it's been a sell on the 4 hourly, but coming down to the 15 minute, we haven't had the SAR flip, but it looks like it's going to happen. It's got an indecision candle caught between quarter theory and pitchfork. It's above the 15 minute EMA. So has it flipped on the 5 minute? Yes, it has, and it's saying buy, and it's coming up here on the stochastic, although ideally we like to get in right at the bottom, and it's suddenly shooting up. So you could do a buy here if you wanted to buy before it comes above the 62 and the quarter theory, but I wouldn't myself. I like to have these as many invisible walls as I can between, if I put a long position on, which is a buy. So say we were going up to that pitchfork or whatever the scanner tells us, because you'll have scans, later scans on this. So normally I'll go for 20 pips and I'll go for a 10 pip stop loss. So I like to cover myself on these invisible lines. So ideally, I'd like, this is just ideally, I'd like to get in where I've covered that pitchfork, covered the quarter theory, price has got above the 62, and then the market always moves between levels. And I can show you many examples of that. I mean, here's an example. There's a level here. It's just done that. That's a level on the pitchfork. And it's just done that down to that quarter theory. That's a level from quarter theory down to that pitchfork. And just get the screen like this. It's come down another level. So it's natural inclination, you know, will want to now come up to that level. So that's a buy on CAD JPY. And on the 1 minute, it is now coming above quarter theory, but you can see because it's such a short time frame, we don't use that on BYOB. It's only the 1 minute, it's showing that it's overbought, it's above 80. So you're looking at two, you know, we're looking too sort of close in on it, but it is good to be able to see that the candles are now pushing up, breaking away from quarter theory and above the 62, and you've got the SAR flip. So I'm liking the momentum of this trade on CAD JPY, so keep an eye on that. But personally, I wouldn't buy it below 83.500, which is the quarter theory, and there's that flat bottom candle. So 5 or 15 minutes, we should be good for 5 to 10 pips on that. And as I go through the pairs, keep an eye on that one for a buy. I'll just mark that one up. Want to look at Euro CAD next. Sorry, it's a bit slow to load. Still loading. Right, Euro CAD. Euro CAD is an 8 out of 10 in terms of its speed. Let's have a look where the scan is. So this scan was, it's working off that scan from mid-December isn't valid at the moment. Normally I put my latest scans in white. It's currently trading and it's dropped down through an older scan. I know I'm up to date on my scans. I'll just look at where this scan was. So you can see it had quite a lot of upward momentum on the scans, but at the moment it's trading, I think that must be this one here, which is from August. It's currently trading out of the scan in August. Scans are still valid, which is why I like this strategy. I've always got trades because pitchforks are valid over a long period of time with multiple trades. See how it's hit these levels here. You know, you've got 20, 40, 20 pips down to that level. That must have been news there. But at the moment, I can't trade this unless I put a second pitchfork on. Oh, I can see, I usually fade them out. I can see a scan there. Just bring up those settings. Oh, I think that's just glitched on me. It's gone to, it's gone large. Don't know why it's gone large like that. It's very odd. Suddenly went very weird. Oh, it suddenly jumped to monthly. Very peculiar. Right, let me go back to 15 minutes. I've pulled up the colours of a scan it is trading in, but I just need to make sure I'm in the right one. So I want to, can you see how it's respecting those levels even though it's crossing two scans? Let me go back to the hourly while I just find that that scan there. Let me fade that one. It's not in that one. Right. Get that one out of the way. So let me just double check. Sometimes, even though I mostly lock on, you can use your tools down here, the little objects thing, to lock things on so that whatever it is you've got on your chart doesn't slip. And there we are. So I can see it's still locked on correctly. That's from the 20th of November. That's the scan it's playing in at the moment. And let me just come down to it. So what we've got, I'm on the hourly, so I want to go to the, so we've got a downward scan. It's rejected off quarter theory, coming back up to retest that extension level. Let's go to, and remember, whatever trade you're in, correlating pairs. I was in one this morning and something came up in the chat. And I thought, well, I mean, I looked at it out of interest, but I couldn't have got into it anyway, because if I'm in one pair, like I'm in Euro USD, I won't get into Euro CAD because you're doubling up. You may win twice, but you may lose twice. So it's always best if you're in one correlating pair to stay out of a similar pair. So here we've got it. It rejected off the extensions. It's come back down on the 5th. I'm going to put BYOB on in a minute. And 62 is well below the 15-minute. So it's in a downward trend. It's rejected off that extension again. It wants to come down, but of course it's got to break through this line at 1.45 flat, which is only sorry, it's a bit slow, only 6 pips away, 5 pips away. So for me, I wouldn't want to take a trade till it's decided it's come through that quarter theory. But as we know with BYOB, it does work. And then let's put our high Kanashi on. And obviously I don't or haven't traded this one in a while because I've changed my settings where I can on the all the high Kanashi candles so that I always have everything the same, because then your brain doesn't have to think about what you're doing. So make sure you're consistent on your charts with the colors of everything, whether it's a trend line you're drawing or anything else. So there's the high Kanashi on. Let's put the stochastic on. There. And let me just check the settings. Inputs, style. Just want a thicker line so we can see it more easily. Make sure you can see the 100. So that's looking quite interesting on the 15-minute. The stochastic has shown it's overbought. And we've got a flat bottom candle. So now let's do the exciting bits and we've got a downward scan. And let's put the exciting bits on. Let's get our indicator on and our SAR flip. Just change that to circles. Change that to a thicker line. Okay, so we've got a sell, we've got a flat bottom candle, so that's definitely looking good for a sell on the 15 minutes. That should be good for your 5 to 10 pips. It's above the stochastic, it's just about at the 80. It's, you know, if you want to be doubly sure, but it has topped out previously at the 80 there at this morning. That was in Asian session. So it's met its structure level, and again here, back here on the 6th of January. So, and you can see it's respecting my pitchfork in this old scan. Here it did break through 6th of January. It broke through there, which must have been, what's that, 6th of January, 12:15 through to 3:15 my time, so 11. But it was quite wicky, wasn't it? So in effect, it was sort of stalled out, although it was above that extension. It was stalled out until New York on the 6th. So the first full day back after Christmas, and then it had a very nice drop yesterday in New York session. You see the sell there that came up on the Ninjacator on the 15-minute and a flat bottom. Now, interestingly, the sell came up here, so you weren't quite on the extreme. But as you get more used to doing these trades, you'll learn where you can get in and out and take your trades, even though it might not be exactly in the extreme. But this is the simplest strategy to stick to. So you could have got in there yesterday on that flat bottom there. And if you did put quarter theory on, oh, it's because I've got the stochastic line on. Let me just move that down a bit and move that up for you. So we can measure those pips. You would have got over 20 pips there, even on the 15-minute. That was a nice little one. So if you look at quarter theory, 25 pips. Now I'm not saying it wicked to quarter theory there. It was in line with your below 20 on the stochastic, telling you to get out of the trade. It was then oversold. Or you could have got out where you saw it breaking through the 62 or the 50, which comes up on your Bollinger Bands. And that you'll see how the 50 line, which is the midline between your Bollinger Bands. Think of your Bollinger Bands, the wider they are, the better the trade. When it's constricted, you've got less movement. It says price is consolidating. So, and think of Bollinger Bands like garden fences. When we first learned this a couple of years ago, we always said it's like the kids in the house and they run off in the garden to the fence, right to the edges, and then they come back in. So that's what your 50 line is, and what my 62 is. Like price will always ping back to that. So you could have got yourself a nice little 20 pips there just by using your 50 EMA on your Bollinger Bands or putting on the 62. And that would have helped you. What I found testing BYOB is that it helps me refine the exit. It just gives me that bit more confidence when I'm looking at, oh, do I get out there? You know, on one or two occasions, I've got 5, 10, even 26 more pips by working to one of these lines. You don't have to work with pitchforks like I do. It's just the system I've learned over the years of the Harmonic Scanner. But certainly your quarter theory or your 50 or 62 would help you judge it before you get that buy signal there, because if you come out on the buy there, then you'll never. One of the sessions I was on this morning, the educator said he was speaking to one of his friends who's a multi-million-dollar trader. Multi-million-dollar trader said most people in Forex fail because they try to get 100% of a trade and they end up getting nothing instead of 70 or 80%. So that's direct from the horse's mouth. So if you had waited until you got the buy signal to get out of this trade, even if we took off that wick and you said, all right, I'll come out at the 62, you'd be giving up 5 or 6 pips. Now, 5 or 6 pips per trade over the course of a month or a year, and this is the discussion we were having this morning, adds up to a lot of pips. You know, it's like 1% per trade can make a big difference over your compound growth over the year. So this is where I think you can use some other things to help you on the exit of your BYOB, where you're not sure where to get out before the next buy comes up, because you should think about being in Forex. It's just doing a retest back there. I am keeping an eye on it, saying sell at the moment on the 15-minute. Think of you as going to work. This is like work. This is your money. This is not the market's money. This is your money. And you don't want to give money back to the market, and you don't want to leave money sitting in the market when you've sat on here for an hour or half an hour or 4 hours to learn how to do it, and doing it on your live account. Those extra 5 pips per trade will make a huge difference over a period of time. So take your money out of the market, but don't try and squeeze your money right down to the final wick, which probably you won't get all the time. We can see it historically, but when you're actually in a trade, it's harder to see. You need to use a pitchfork, the 50 line, the 62, or look at where it says it's oversold. So if you pick that point there, you would have got out here, which obviously gives you more pips than if you got out where the indicator says it's a buy instead of a sell. So you do need to use your own judgment. So let's go back to the current trade on EuroCAD. It's saying sell, it's saying it's overbought, it's retest, but for me, I can see that what it's doing, sorry, the box has just come up, that it's retesting that 62 and it's hit the 50 line on the Bollinger Band. The SARs are still underneath, although it's in a scan which is a downward scan. So you know, we are wanting to sell this, and that's what we call a momentum trade. So I'm looking for it to do something like this now, because it's stalling out and it's saying sell on indicator. So obviously we want it to do that. But the only thing that puts me off is obviously I've got these extensions and then I've got quarter theory. So, and it's above the 62 and the 50 line, that little purple line, which is the middle of your Bollinger Bands, and the Bollinger Bands are quite tight. So on the 15-minute, it's coming down now on the stochastic. The lines are quite a bit apart and they are sort of at 45 degrees. But how many pips would we actually have before it turned again? It says 12 pips down to that pitchfork and that quarter theory line. So you could be looking at that for a sell, but because it's euro being sold against the CAD, Canadian dollar, maybe it'll just stall out. I don't know, we can look at let's look at the 5 minutes. 5 minutes saying it's finished its move, it wants to come up. So to me, my gut feeling is that it is now narrowing in its movement on price at the moment, but we'll just go up to the hour and we'll move on to something else. So on the hourly, it's rejecting. That's a good sign on the hourly, although it's wicked. That's a doji candle. It's wicked off that extension line. It's still above the 62 and the 50, and it's kind of trapped. Price trap, I think Charles Jones calls it on his Underground Railroad strategy. It hasn't come up as a sell on the hourly. It hasn't peaked on the stochastic, and it's price trapped between the extension on the pitchfork and the quarter theory. So once it's moved through those, there's 14 pips there, but it's kind of making its mind up what it wants to do. So if I were you, I would keep your indicator on and see where it says to turn, and also look at your time frames. But I don't particularly like that as a trade myself at the moment because of that situation. So that's EuroCAD. You can put it on the watch list to see if it will come down once it's below 1.45. Let me just look at the quarter theory, 1.45 flat. 1.4, 1.45, yeah, that one, for a sell. So that's EuroCAD. Let's look, because I'm aware of time. Let's look at USD CAD again, the one that stopped me out, and let's see what it's doing on the 1 minute. Let me go to the 1 minute. I don't know, it might be a bit soon for it to have redrawn. It is coming down. So I think normally what I will do is I'll put my D point up at that, they both look similar. I'll put it up at this red candle there. I'm pretty sure when I look later, it will redraw to there. It has come down. It's come down now to entry point 2 again. but because I've just been bitten by it, it's come down 11.8. I'm probably not going to look at getting in this now until it comes down to, I'm just going to put this on my list, USD CAD. I'm going to look at getting back in this at TP1 1.29817. Again, for a sell, I see no reason to change that. And here we are, that blue candle's just come up there, so I think the D point's going to redraw up there, and then I'll put the pitchfork, I'll move my D point pitchfork up to there. So I'm keeping an eye on that still for a sell, but not until it's protected me by coming down to TP1. And let's just see, did it hit quarter theory? It was how many, I'm on the 1 minute, just checking where, how many pips away. Can't see, my thing's in the way. Oh, there we are, it's just hitting, I'll take that off now. It's just decided we're coming up to the last 10 minutes of the hour when you get fake outs on, quite a lot of traders never enter a trade in the last 10 minutes of an hour, because you always get always run, there's always exceptions, but you generally tend to get a fake out. So it's doing its last sort of push up to take out people's stop losses. It's hitting off quarter theory. I'm thinking that that probably is where I will be redrawing my D point. You know, who knows? Let's look at the 15-minute on it. So it's, in fact, it's now seems to be wanting to go, it's quite a strong flat bottom candle, that. What did it do on the 30-minute? Oh, it's wicked out on the 30-minute. That's a strong flat bottom, but with quite a lot of wick at the top. And this is wicked either side, the last two 30-minute candles. So it's running out of momentum off that quarter theory and the extension of the pitchfork. So what I will probably end up doing, I'll do it now because I can always change it later. Just unlock it. So this is what I will be doing, something like that. And then my pitchfork will move up to here. So I'm just going to make a note, USD CAD, that I need to check D point. Good old paper and pen. I mark it up each day, 7th of the 1st, live trading. I've got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pairs, which are either USD or CAD, Canadian dollar. They're the two hot pairs in the trading in this session that I wanted to go through with you. And then I jigged them by order according to one to show you what had happened, this particular one, and then some of the others, but I hadn't particularly been looking at them before. I just kind of hop on when we're on. So that's just looking at that one, and then let's look at another fairly fast one rather than the slow ones out of a 1 to 10 on my list. NZ, these all move at only a 2 out of 10 in normal times. NZD CAD, NZD USD, USD Chef, Swiss franc, Odd USD, those 1, 2, 3, 4 only move at a 2. So you have to work out your style of trading, because my style of trading is not generally to work with pairs that only move to 2. I like to do scalping, I like intraday, I like a short time in and out, I like trades to run, and I like a 10 pip stop loss. So more naturally I'm intraday or a scalper, and I stack in if I want to go for bigger pips. I'm only ever looking for 20 pips. I've drawn this, and this is a smaller scan. This is only 35 pips on the 15-minute. Seem to remember. Sorry, it's a bit slow. So that's 46 pips. My rules, I only work off scans that are 80 pips minimum. I've started to do this because it works effectively with BYOB, and I like to overlay that template on the live trading sessions. So I also have to make a note that there are some where I where I am doing a smaller scan than usual because I'm trying to overlay the BYOB. But my normal trading in London, I'll a bit more normally be doing an 80 pip scan, 10 pip stop loss, 20 pip take profit, and just working off pitchfork rejections, because that is these are all on Fibonacci's, so that's your ping off point, to use a technical term, is pitchfork. So it's just what I've been used to over a period of time. So the last one I'm going to look at, just to wrap up, we've got a couple of minutes, is let's pick one more, which is USD JPY. That's a 6. Where's that gone? Thought I had that one up. Oh, maybe, why didn't I? Oh, because we did something, maybe I did something with it earlier. I'm not going to look at this. This is USD chef, Swiss franc. Just need to pull a chart up in order to get to load another one. Just a bit slow. There's your USD chef. I don't have a lot of scans on this anyway. It's right down there at the moment. There, that's USD chef for those who are interested. I have got pitchfork on it, but I can't remember where it's from. And that's in an upward momentum at the moment. It's above quarter theory. Although, sorry, it's above quarter theory, but although it's above the 62, the 62 is below the 15-minute. So that to me says there's a bit of downward pressure on that one. Just you might want to bear that in mind if you're looking at it. So USD JPY as our last one is there. And last minute or so before we wrap up, because Sharon will be on at 2 your time. And right, 15-minute, nice D point there. This was quite a big scan. And this was, most of my scans are all drawn on the hour, usually off Trader's Way. That's the one where I take most of them from, majority, over 90%. So 6th of January, so you can see it came up off the D point. It didn't retest the D point. It just went straight to quarter theory. It crossed up above the 62. I'm on the 15-minute here. It's broken and retested that pitchfork. It's broken and retested again. It's now above the 62. So once it hits above that quarter theory, I'd be looking at that for a buy, most definitely. I'll just, before we go, pop on the BYOB with the SAR flip. I'm on the 15-minute and with an indicator, and just let's see what that's telling us. That's saying buy, and it's a SAR. The SAR's just flipped, but please bear in mind 108.500. That's your quarter theory point, which is a strong line of support and resistance. So for me, I like to win trades. So I like to, I do like it to get past that line myself as an extra invisible buffer. So here on the stochastic, I'm just going to go, it's coming up to the hour, but it's not it's not in the extreme. We've got a smaller time scale there, so you might want to look at a longer time scale for that. I'll just finish by going on the 30-minute to see where the stochastic is. It's still saying buy, but it's still at the top. On the hourly, it's peaked on the hourly, and but it's still saying a buy. So I do like that for a buy. It's a momentum trade in the direction of the scan. It didn't retest the D point, but it is coming up to the medium. Now, normally I'll only do buys up until the medium. The 62 it's above the 62 on the hourly as well. But as I say, I probably at this point like it to get above that quarter theory point. And you've got pips between pitchforks are 0 down to there. This is quite a big scan. You've got 50 So this is a scan of 200. So when you get to bigger scans, I am taking them in the middle. Normally I'll take them where they ping off the pitchfork, but here I'll wait for it to get past quarter theory, see what the indicator is telling me on the, say, the 15 minutes. That's saying sell 80 there, where it came down, and then it's rejected off the pitchfork where the indicator says it's on a buy, and now it's just coming up to the quarter theory. So how many pips away, and then we'll call it a day. It is stochastic staying down there, so it's got at the moment about 7 pips to go to it gets above quarter theory. So I'm quite liking that for the buy at the 108.5 and above. And bear in mind, look at your time frame, your stochastic, and your buy signal on the indicator. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy Sharon's session. I think she's up next. See you later.
Thank you, Sarah.
Very welcome. Any questions, ping me. Bye.
Thanks, bye.